It's the worst of the CBC for October 27th, 2020, the show where I watch the CBC so you don't have to. Day 2, and we're already going a little bit insane. But there at least is no question in my mind as to what the worst covered story was on today's CBC, and that is the interview with the Reverend Al Sharpton, who is even a controversial figure himself in the black community. I mean, people say, oh, he's a civil rights activist. You'll find multiple people on all sides of the political aisle in black America who say, Al Sharpton is a guy who doesn't really care too much about these civil rights things. He just shows up to wherever there's national media attention, throws his brand on it, starts race huckstering, complains about the system, pays attention to his family for a month, then leaves when the cameras go away. That's his rep. But Al Sharpton is also an unapologetic, enthusiastic inspirer of Jew murder. Now, Al Sharpton is a big fan of murdering Jews and mass violence and, basically riots and murders of Jews. He is unapologetically, enthusiastically in favor of such things. Never apologized, not once, given a show on MSNBC, shakes hands with Barack Obama, brought onto the CBC to talk about how racist Donald Trump is. Need I remind you that Al Sharpton was the man who, right before the Crown Heights riots started, which 2 people were murdered in, one Jew, one the crowd thought a random guy with a beard was a Jew, so they stabbed him and murdered him. Al Sharpton doesn't see anything wrong with this, still hasn't, not apologized. So far, all legitimate stabbing of Jews. In 1995 as well, also 7 Jews. Sometimes you just got to kill a bunch of Jews, according to Al Sharpton. Who knows? He is a social rights activist. So the controversy of the Crown Heights riots in 1991, you had a black professor who basically got up, made a big speech filled with all your classic anti-Semitic tropes. Jews control the media, Jews do this, Jews do this, Jews started the slave trade, ran the slave trade, blah, 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 no historical accuracy, classic anti-Semitic things. Basically, the same type of guy who's like, oh yeah, you Jews didn't do this? Let me link you to this Stormfront website, and it will tell you. Nonsense. But of course, a bunch of people went to go defend this one black professor because it was racism to accuse him of being anti-Semitic for saying crazy things about the Jews. Not much has changed. And in response to this, Al Sharpton's was, if the Jews want to come get it, they can pin their yarmulkes back and go over and come to my house, basically threatening to fight the Jews. Then there was a horrible car accident where a Hasidic Jew got in an accident, ran the curb, hit 2 kids, one died. There was a Hasidic ambulance that was the first one to get to the scene. It started to administer healthcare to the kids and everyone there. But then the driver, who was also there helping, he came on an attack from the crowd. When the police came and the other ambulances came, they sent the Hasidic driver, put him in the Hasidic ambulance, got them out of there, and took the other kid to the regular hospital. Al Sharpton, knowing all the information here, Al Sharpton continued to push the lie that the Hasidic ambulance, which was the first onto the scene, gave first aid to the 2 kids. One of them ended up surviving, the other one didn't. That it was part of an apartheid system that prioritized the Jews, because there was such an angry crowd whipped up by him weeks beforehand that went to start attacking the Jews who were trying to give medical attention to the black kids. Then when other ambulances finally got there, the police had to send the Hasidic ambulance and the Hasidic driver out of the scene because they were being attacked by the crowds, whipped up by Al Sharpton. Who knows? Maybe he's responsible also in some part for the death of the Cato child. Who knows? He then went on to inspire more riots against Jews in 1995. There are eyewitnesses, although this speech isn't recorded, saying that, weeks into the Crown Heights riot, he was talking to a crowd, and he used the word kill the Jews a couple of times. It was heard there. So Al Sharpton is a man who has never apologized for this. Said, it was the outcry of injustice and it was apartheid system. He even pushed crazy conspiracy theories that it's the apartheid diamonds in South Africa being sent through Tel Aviv to America by these diamond merchant Jews who are somehow controlling New York. Nonsense, okay? So we'll get into maybe the Jewish thing later. I'll do another video on York Center in Toronto because the Jewish community, it's so powerful. It's so incompetent. It's so funny. We just elected a Jewish anti-Semite in a Jewish region of Canada. Oh, Toronto drives me nuts. Anyway, okay. So what story should they have covered, but they didn't? Again, I'll get into the more Canadian election stuff, separate video. But because this is a Canadian news channel, they have to cover American politics. And if they're going to cover American politics, they missed the biggest story of yesterday, and this really needs to be talked about. It's the fact that Amy Coney Barrett was confirmed to the Supreme Court, which they didn't mention. Maybe it made on the Chiron, but I wasn't paying attention to the Chiron the entire time. The biggest story, however, though, is that parts of the Democratic Party, AOC, actually tweeted out, expand the court. This is a pathway towards civil war, and this is what drives people nuts about the left who are always complaining, oh, Trump's so irregular, Trump is changing the thing. If you say, oh, no, because we don't have control of the Supreme Court, which we want to use as a super legislator, which is incredibly dangerous. I think if anyone's watched my videos when I talk about the SNC-Lavalin scandal or anything Supreme Court justice, I mean, I am not in favor of courts being super legislative bodies. I think that's incredibly dangerous. But that's what the Democrats want to do. But not only that, but they want to, basically, if you expand the court, what this means is there's 9 Supreme Court justices, right? What the Democrats probably want to do is say, okay, we're going to add 2 more justices, we'll appoint them. Joe Biden wins, 9 now becomes 11, we'll bring in 2 more Democrats, so then we have a majority, or it would be 6-5, but John Roberts is like kind of a Democrat most times, so restores the balance. And Democrats, okay, then what if a Republican wins in 4 years and says, you know what, we're going to expand it to 13, right? I'm going to appoint 2 Republican judges there. And then the Democrats get in again. It's like, well, 15, right? Now we'll push the balance. And then what if it gets, okay, now 19? And like, where does this end? Where does this end? Civil war. This is the type of thing that will end in a civil war if you literally can't get along with each other. And AOC, I'm not going to call Linda Sarsour part of the Democratic Party, although she was a surrogate for Bernie Sanders. But you see this, like, Ibrahim X. Kendi, Linda Sarsour, AOC, the id of the Democratic Party, is openly advocating for this nonsense. So you got to cover it, because these are radicals in office. They're actually in office. Okay, and Joe Biden won't answer this question, and the media won't ask. I know thou shalt not ask a difficult question of thine Joe Biden is, the 11th commandment. But seriously, guys, come on. Where is it getting on the bias scale? Because a lot of American election COVID stuff, I want to save the 10s out of 10s for a while, but just the Jew-hating guy, ugh, I hate the Jews, but I'm a social justice guy. Ugh, Al Sharpton. All right, so 9 out of 10 on the Rosemary Barton scale today. 9 out of 10. See you tomorrow.